I can't take it anymore. Rubbing my aching back, I mustered the courage to speak up to Carter. I really was at my wit's end, and I thought that if I kept taking care of the child and doing household chores on my own any longer, I'd break down. However, Carter neither comforted me nor showed any compassion. Instead, he glared at me and said, "What? Don't you dare slack off on taking care of the kid and the chores. If you're gonna whine, I'll divorce you and kick you out." Seeing Carter shout those words in disdain, my world went dark. There's no love left in him for me. If things don't go his way, he considers me expendable, I guess. Holding back the anger boiling up from deep within, I felt something inside of me withdrawing. I can't stand being with this man any longer. I stared at Carter intently, making a pivotal decision. My name is Catherine Sawyer, 41 years old. I live with my husband Carter and our 5-year-old daughter, Evelyn. Originally, I used to work as a temporary staff, hopping from one company to another. But after marrying Carter, I became a full-time housewife. Being a temporary staff without any special skills and having never married, I was anxious about my future. So, I had no complaints about settling down as a housewife after marriage. I've always enjoyed housework, so transitioning into a household role was easy for me. Carter and I got married 5 years ago. It was a late marriage for both of us, but we were blessed with a daughter shortly after. Carter, a public servant, seemed like the perfect match for me. We first met at a local bar we both frequented. My workplace was near the city hall, and Carter and I had bumped into each other at the bar a few times. At first, I just thought, oh, it's that guy again. But after a few encounters, Carter started the conversation. We often drank alone, so perhaps we felt some sort of connection. Carter, who worked in the public sector, was handsome and charismatic. It was surprising he hadn't married yet. When he proposed dating, I immediately said yes. I was actually worried that I might not meet someone else in the future. Most good men my age were already married, and I didn't have the courage to approach younger men. That's when I met Carter, and I quickly fell in love. Carter moved with grace and had a mysterious charm about him, making me think he must have been popular with the ladies in the past. "I'll definitely make you happy." "Yeah, sure." When Carter proposed to me after dating for 6 months, I immediately said yes. I had no doubt that this was the peak of our happiness. I wanted us to be that couple everyone would envy once we were married. Such dreams made me look forward to my life with Carter. I found out I was pregnant with our daughter about a month after our wedding. I quickly shared the news with Carter. I thought Carter would be pleased, but he seemed a bit down. "What's wrong? Aren't you happy?" "I mean, I am, but I'm just not good with kids." Carter looked apologetic as he confessed, but I thought, is that all, and felt relieved. There are plenty of folks out there who aren't naturally good with kids, but that doesn't mean they can't become good parents. "It'll be okay. Our child will definitely be adorable." "I hope so. I might just leave most of the parenting to you." "It's okay. I love kids, so we'll figure it out." Back then, I didn't think too deeply about Carter's words. Even if one isn't fond of kids, surely seeing their own child would make them fall in love. So, all I wanted then was to reassure Carter. A few months later, our daughter Evelyn was born safely. There were concerns because of my age, but I was relieved when everything went smoothly. Carter didn't attend the birth, so his first meeting with Evelyn was the day after. "Look how tiny and cute her hands and feet are." "Yeah, they are." Contrary to my expectations, Carter didn't seem too excited looking at newborn Evelyn. Perhaps he didn't find newborns cute? I've heard that paternal instincts can sometimes kick in slower than maternal ones. I was understanding at the time, but even after we returned home from the hospital, Carter's demeanor didn't change. Even after seeing me exhausted from the challenges of new motherhood, Carter just went about his work routine. I didn't expect him to get up in the middle of the night for feedings, but a little sympathy would have been nice. About a month after giving birth, after we had Evelyn's christening, I decided to express my feelings to Carter. "Hey, do you think you could help a bit with the baby or housework? Even just on your days off? If you can, maybe I could get a bit of rest." Carter listened to my argument and his face hardened. I braced myself, wondering if I had said something to upset him. "That's tough." "Huh, why?" "When Evelyn was born, I think I told you, I'm not good with kids. Plus, I can't do any household chores." "It's all right, isn't it? I work as a public servant and bring in the money. Housework and childcare, that's the least of my worries. Got it? His tone was matter of fact, but there wasn't a trace of kindness in Carter's words. The way he talked about bringing in the money sounded condescending, as if he looked down on stay-at-home moms. I was shocked. Carter had never treated me with such disdain before. For the first time, I felt deeply hurt by Carter's true feelings. But I think parenting is a job for both of us. Even when I timidly objected, Carter just shook his head. I can't do parenting. Just like I said at first. But you were okay with it, Catherine. I left childcare to you. Even though he wasn't angry or upset, Carter's words were cold, casting a dark shadow over my heart. Feeling abandoned by my husband, I looked at our sleeping child in my arms. Sure, kids are adorable, but when they cry intensely, it's mentally draining. All I wanted was for Carter to help out just a little. And yet, he dumped everything on me. Seeing my downcast mood, Carter left for work without a word. Before we got married, I used to wonder why such a great guy hadn't been married yet. Sure, Carter had a lot of charm as a man. But that was just as a romantic partner. When it came to family life, he turned out to be the kind of man you can't call great at all. It was my fault for not realizing this before marriage. Regretting it now won't help, especially when I have a newborn to care for. I can't just be left out on the streets. With unstoppable tears of frustration, I wondered what the future held for us. True to his word, Carter left all the household and child-rearing tasks to me and did nothing outside of his job. Even now, 5 years into our marriage, all he does is order me around, saying things like, "When's dinner? Clean this up for me." And he has become more authoritative than when we first got married. Sighing, I just followed Carter's instructions. Our daughter, now 4 years old, still requires a lot of attention. Even though I put her in preschool, I was too busy with household chores during those hours, with no time to take a break. But to Carter, it seemed like I, not working, was indulging by leaving Evelyn at daycare, and his demands on me grew stronger day by day. Then, one day happened. We had planned to go watch the sports day at Evelyn's kindergarten together, but on the day, Carter said, "I can't make it after all." Why not? I was called to work suddenly. So, sorry, you'll have to go on your own. Really? Working on a Sunday, even though he's a public servant? I couldn't help but wonder, but there wasn't much I could do about it. I went to the sports day all by myself. From that day on, Carter often started to leave the house saying, "I'm swamped." Since he started staying out even on weekends, I decided to visit my parents' home after a long time. I was tired of keeping Evelyn company all by myself, and I thought Evelyn might want to see her grandparents. Once home, I discussed the situation with my mother. We've always been close and could talk about anything. As soon as I saw my mother's face, I just started to spill. Carter doesn't help with any chores or with Evelyn. And recently, he's gone somewhere on his days off. He doesn't come back all day. It's hard on Evelyn. Really? Do you think it's okay? It's not okay. I wish he'd be more responsible. But since he's the one working, I can't really talk back. Not that. I was wondering if Carter might be having an affair. An affair? I initially denied my mother's suggestion of Carter cheating. But when I thought about it, I had no way of knowing what he was really doing when he wasn't at home. I hate to bring this up. Maybe keep an eye out and see? Yeah, I will. 2 days later, on Monday, Evelyn and I left my parents' place and returned home. I had let Carter know we were visiting my parents, so he was probably already at work. We arrived home just before noon. When I opened the door, a smoky smell hit my nose. Mom, it stinks. What's this smell? Could it be cigarettes? That familiar tobacco smell I occasionally catch in the city was somehow filling my house. Didn't have to think twice, it was Carter. But Carter never smoked in front of me before. It had been that way since we first met. Could it be that he'd been smoking outside all this time? It's the only explanation. I opened all the windows in the house to air it out. Then, when I went to the bedroom, to my surprise, tissues were scattered everywhere, and there were a bunch of liquor bottles and cans. On top of that, I could faintly smell perfume. The word affair that my mother mentioned started to cross my mind. Could he really be cheating? But why would he leave the room in such a mess? It's as if he's practically asking me to suspect him. Carter must have brought another woman into our home while I was away. The work he mentioned was just a lie. He couldn't even clean up properly to cover up his tracks. Knowing this, my frustration grew. I was lost in thought, sitting on the living room couch, when Evelyn's words about being hungry snapped me back to reality. Right, I can't stay like this. I have to find out if he's really cheating. While preparing lunch, I planned my next move. After lunch, I immediately hired a private investigator to check on Carter. It was costly, but if they could confirm his infidelity, it'd be worth it. 2 weeks later, the PI contacted me. The verdict was damning. Apparently, Carter had been seeing a young woman who worked at a bar near the place we first met. She was 20 years younger than him. Given Carter's charm, it wasn't surprising that even a younger woman could fall for him. I had once too. But I never thought Carter could be such a lowlife. Holding the evidence from the investigator, I filled out the divorce papers without hesitation. Staying with Carter would only bring pain to both Evelyn and me. It's heartbreaking for Evelyn, but I have to step up for her sake. Having prepared for divorce, I was waiting for the right moment to bring it up with Carter. However, for some reason, Carter didn't show any signs of infidelity for a while. In the meantime, I got busy with parent-teacher meetings and school events for preschool, and found it harder to keep up with the household chores. One day, when I served dinner using store-bought sides, Carter suddenly got angry. "What's this? Can't you make a proper dinner?" He slammed his fork on the table, shouting with a clearly annoyed face. Evelyn, who was eating with us, jumped in surprise. "I'm sorry. But lately, I've been so busy. My back's been hurting too. Can't you help out just a little?" I asked, hoping against hope, but Carter just glared at me. "I can't take this anymore." Rubbing my aching back, I mustered the courage to speak up to Carter. I really was at my wit's end, and I thought that if I kept taking care of the child and doing household chores on my own any longer, I'd break down. However, Carter neither comforted me nor showed any compassion. Instead, he glared at me and said, "What? Don't you dare slack off on taking care of the kid and the chores. If you're gonna whine, I'll divorce you and kick you out." Seeing Carter shout those words in disdain, my world went dark. There's no love left in him for me. If things don't go his way, he considers me expendable, I guess. Holding back the anger boiling up from deep within, I felt something inside of me withdrawing. I can't stand being with this man any longer. I stared at Carter intently, making a pivotal decision. "I understand." I swiftly rose from the chair and told him, "I'm getting a divorce and leaving." Staring at me, Carter gulped, but quickly recovered his demeanor and snorted. "As you wish." He spat out and stretched as if feeling liberated. I stared coldly at Carter. I hastily packed my essentials into a carry-on bag, setting dinner aside. Anticipating something like this, I had already sent both Evelyn's and my clothes to my parents' house. So, I was able to prepare in no time. "Evelyn, we're leaving." Without a word, Evelyn stood up and followed me. I truly felt sorry for her, but staying with Carter wasn't good for her upbringing. With a heavy heart, I took Evelyn by the hand. "Hey, are you serious? It's on you, whatever happens. You ain't even working, so what's your plan?" I left the house without answering Carter's question. As I was about to close the front door, I thought I heard him click his tongue, but I ignored it. He's probably going to live with that woman he is having an affair with. He might even be relieved that I brought up the breakup. Though it pained me to think I was playing into Carter's hands, it couldn't be helped. "Evelyn, wanna go to Grandma's?" "Yeah." It seemed like Evelyn, despite being a child, grasped the situation. She had grown to be so independent. Thankfully, she wasn't much influenced by Carter, who never took part in parenting. I returned to my parents' house with Evelyn. My parents welcomed us warmly. My father was furious at Carter, but he calmed down when I intervened. "I just can't stand that guy. Got any plans?" "Yeah. I'm gonna file the divorce tomorrow and consult a lawyer." Knowing that I was going to take the appropriate measures to discipline them, my parents seemed relieved. Evelyn was playing happily with her grandparents, probably glad she could visit them. The next day, after I filed for divorce, I finally felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Now, Carter and I are nothing more than strangers. All I want now is the child support from him. It was 3 days after I left the house when I got a call from Carter. At first, I thought it'd be a hassle and ignored it, but he kept calling every few minutes. Finally, annoyed, I decided to settle things and answer. Hello? Catherine, where the hell are you? Hurry up and make my dinner. Out of the blue, he's yelling about dinner? What's he talking about? I calmly said to Carter. You know we're divorced, right? Why would I make dinner for my ex-husband? What? Divorced? I don't accept that. Just get back home now. You're probably at your folks' place, aren't ya? Sure, I'm at my folks, but there's no way I'm thinking of going back to the house with Carter. After all, since we're divorced, it's not my home anymore. Listen, Carter, did you hear what I said? Our divorce is official. Whether you accept it or not, it doesn't matter. What? It seemed like it finally sunk in for Carter as he muttered, divorce. Official. That's right. So, now you and I are just strangers. There's no reason for me to cook for you. But this is problematic. I can't eat anything but the meals you make. I can't stomach eating out or convenience store food. That's true. Carter always preferred home-cooked meals and never ate takeout or convenience store food. But that doesn't mean a divorced wife should make him food. You should ask that woman you've been seeing to make you dinner. When I brought up his affair, Carter gasped in surprise. He probably didn't realize I knew about it. How did you find out about that? I had a hunch for a while and hired a private investigator. She works at a bar, right? Only 25, I heard? Her name's Ashley Thompson. Maybe if she cooks for you, everything will be solved. Hearing the woman's name from me, Carter was shocked and at a loss for words. I pressed on further. I've been noticing you're out of the house a lot recently, but I never imagined you'd be cheating. Were you out with another woman even on Evelyn's sports day? It's just disgusting. Why should I cook for someone like you? Considering Carter and I are already divorced, I was on the offensive. Carter, seemingly caught off guard, hesitated on the other end of the line. Well, if you already knew, that makes things simpler. Please, Catherine, Ashley can't cook. At this rate, I feel like I'm gonna starve. Don't you think Evelyn would miss not having her father around? It was low of him to bring up Evelyn's name. I did feel somewhat guilty for taking her father away from her. As I struggled for a response, Evelyn unexpectedly approached me while I was on the phone. Go over there for a moment, I whispered, but Evelyn innocently asked, Daddy? He must have heard her, as he exclaimed loudly, Yes, it's Daddy. You miss living with me, don't you? I closely watched Evelyn's reaction. Evelyn pondered, tilting her head, and then simply said, Nope. For Evelyn, as long as I have Mom, Grandma, and Grandpa, I'm happy, she replied cheerfully. But hey, only Daddy can play those lift-up games with you, and you'd want to go out together, right? I'm okay if I have Mom. I love Mom way more. No. Hearing Evelyn's honest feelings seemed to crush Carter. It's only natural to feel that way, considering Evelyn's feelings. Carter had barely been involved in parenting. It's only natural for Evelyn to feel she doesn't need a father like that. Hearing Evelyn's words almost brought tears to my eyes. That's how it is, so we're officially parting ways. Expect a call from my lawyer regarding child support. Oh, and do let Ashley know she'd better be watching her back as well. Child support? Why do I have to? Isn't it obvious? Do you even realize what you've done? Cheating while having a family. You were prepared for the consequences, weren't you? It's just, with Ashley. I didn't even want to hear the rest. Cheating without even realizing the consequences. I can't. Ashley's pregnant. I don't have that kind of money. I'll need to support the coming baby too. Please, just forgive me. Pregnant? What a clueless man. I listened in disbelief to Carter's words. Yeah, that must be tough. Planning on pushing the responsibility of the child you're bringing into the world onto your partner, huh? But it doesn't matter. You are going to pay child support. With a commanding tone, I said that and hung up before I could hear Carter's response. The phone rang again immediately, but I wasn't in the mood to pick it up anymore. From now on, my lawyer will handle it and will probably get in touch with Carter. I dropped the phone and took a deep breath. Evelyn was looking at me with a big smile. She was holding a stuffed puppy that my mother had bought her. "Mommy, wanna play with me?" "What should we play?" "Let's play house." "All right. Let's go over there." "Okay." Holding her stuffed puppy, Evelyn ran off to the living room where my mother and my father were. I want to protect Evelyn's smile for the rest of my life. After all, I'm the only parent she has. Later on, it seems my lawyer settled things with Carter, and I'll be receiving child support monthly. It turns out Carter doesn't have any savings and likely borrowed from his parents. His parents called me and kept apologizing. It was sad to think that such decent parents had a son like that. Apparently, Carter sold our shared house, but most of the money went towards paying off loans. Having lost his place, Carter, of course, moved back with his parents. It seems they've made Carter handle all the household chores. I bet he's struggling now with both housework and his job. The woman he cheated with has rethought the idea of marrying someone with debts and plans to have a child without getting married. She must be financially strained as well. But I don't feel sorry for her. It's the price they pay for their actions. I did hope, as a fellow mother, that she'd give birth to a healthy child. I've been staying with my parents and job hunting. I was a bit excited about working again after a long time. Of course, it will be tough, but I was prepared for it. I'm not like Carter. I have a sense of responsibility to raise Evelyn properly. I felt I could overcome any hardship for Evelyn's smile. "Mommy, thank you always." Evelyn hugged me before bedtime. She seemed to understand that I was trying hard. I hugged Evelyn back and whispered, "Thank you for coming into my life."